Hi, this is a Grellow and Gray tutorial for the Sirka counter. I'm Gray and I'll be your teacher for this tutorial, the Contiguous Cardi. Susie Myers, also known as Susie M., suggested we make this a photo tutorial, so in honor of Susie and her wonderful method, the Contiguous method, that's what we're going to do. You can find instructions for Susie's Contiguous method on Ravelry, that's ravelry.com. The contiguous method is wonderful because it helps you work a whole sweater in one go, including sleeves, even set-in sleeves, which means you don't have to sew any seams. You also can try it on as you work. The challenge at first is that when you read the beginning of the pattern, there's a lot going on. The trick is to break it into a series of stages. That's where the Sirka counter comes in. Let's see how. This is the Sirka counter. We named its parts after the parts of a pocket watch. So this is the bow, this is the face, these are the crowns, and these are the hands. The hands fit snugly into the slots on the dial where they're designed to stay put. The crowns rotate about the face, either clockwise or counterclockwise. The bow serves several purposes. You can store your stitch markers on it using a keyring, you can thread a ribbon through it so you can wear the counter around your neck, or you can put your finger through it like we do to hold the counter steady. Do what works for you. You've got 3 different colors to work with so you can keep track of 3 different counts. That's critical for a contiguous pattern. Every count has a starting number and an ending number. You put the crown on the starting number and you put the hand on the ending number. That way you never forget when you're supposed to stop. You advance your counts by clicking the crowns from number to number. We're going to begin our Cardi by casting on at the neck edge with 1 front stitch, a few shoulder stitches, the back stitches, some more shoulder stitches, and 1 front stitch. This is just one example of a contiguous pattern. Your shoulder seam stitches could be just 1 or a few stitches, as here, or, as you see here, they could be a bunch more if you're making a sweater with a saddle shoulder. The possibilities are endless. Anyway, once we've cast on and placed our markers 2 per side, we're ready to start the first stage. Here are the instructions. We don't actually make a chart like this when we're knitting with the Sirka counter. We're lazy. That's why we invented it. We just made the chart to show you the relevant parts of the pattern. Of course, you can make a chart like this if it makes it easier at first. As you can see, the instructions say to work an increase on either side of the shoulder markers and to do it on every row, right side and wrong side. At the same time, we're supposed to work an increase on each front edge, which forms the front neckline. We're supposed to do this on every row too. How many times? The instructions say 4 times for both things, which is easy, but they just as easily could have said until you have X number of stitches on each front. That's the beauty of the Sirka counter. It doesn't matter. You could advance 1 click each time you work an increase, or you could advance 1 click each time you add a stitch. The Sirka counter keeps track either way. Anyway, the first thing we do is assign each task a color. Because both of these instructions are worked on every row for a total of 4 times, I'm going to assign the color yellow to both tasks. I put the yellow hand on the 4 because that's my ending number. I put the yellow crown on the 0, which is sharing space with the 36 at the top of the dial. Why? Because I haven't done any increases yet. I put the blue and gray hands out of the way. We don't need them yet. Now let's say I've just done these increases 4 times. Here's what my Sirka counter looks like. You know you're done with an instruction because the crowns line up with their hands, matching color to color, in this case yellow. Moving on to the next stage of the instructions, the pattern says to work the same shoulder increases every row a total of 8 times. It then says to slow the rate of increase at the front edge, working the increases at the front edge every other row, i.e. right side only. We're supposed to do that 3 times and then cast on the remaining stitches for the front neckline. Assign each task a color. I'm assigning the color yellow to the shoulder increases and the color gray to the front increases. I put the yellow hand on the 8 because that's my ending number for that count. I put the gray hand on the 3 because that's my ending number for that count. I put both crowns on the 0, again because I haven't worked any of these increases yet, at this stage of the pattern. Now let's say I've worked these increases, so I'm ready to move on to the next stage of the instructions. The pattern says to work a buttonhole and then to work the same buttonhole every 8 centimeters, which at our gauge means a buttonhole every 26 rows. At the same time, it says to work an increase on each side of each sleeve, that is, inside the markers, making the sleeves bigger. We're supposed to do that every other row, right side only, a total of 21 times. Assign each task a color. I'm assigning the color blue to the buttonholes and the color yellow to the sleeve increases. I put the blue hand on the 26 because that's my ending number for that count. I need to work a buttonhole every 26 rows. The blue count is different from the yellow and gray counts because I'm counting rows, not increases, so I'll give it a click after I've finished each row. I'll start counting after I've worked my first buttonhole, at which point I'll move the blue crown to the 1. When the blue crown reaches the 26 again and my colors line up, I'll know it's time to work a buttonhole on that row. As for the number of buttonholes worked, I'll just have to count the buttonholes I've done by looking at my knitting, because as you'll see, I'm going to use the yellow and gray counts for other things. Back to this stage of the pattern. I put the yellow hand on the 21 because that's my ending number for that count. I'm increasing for the sleeves a total of 21 times. I put the yellow crown on the 0 because I haven't worked any of these sleeve increases yet. Now this pattern says to start increasing for the body only after you've worked the sleeve increases. So we could use the very same color, yellow, for both the sleeve increases and the body increases. But we like to keep the two separate in our minds because other contiguous patterns might ask you to increase for the sleeves and bodies simultaneously. So we're going to assign a different color to our body increases, in this case, gray. I put the gray hand on the 6 because that's my ending number for that count. I'm increasing for the body a total of 6 times. I put the gray crown on the 0 because I haven't worked any body increases yet. You can see that my yellow crown lines up with my yellow hand because I finished my sleeve increases before starting my body increases. If I were supposed to increase for the body while I was still increasing for the sleeves, my yellow crown wouldn't be lined up with the yellow hand yet. I'd be working the sleeve increases and the body increases together, keeping track of each one using its own color. And don't forget the buttonholes. My blue crown is busy counting the rows between buttonholes. I give the blue crown a click after every row. Now that the hard part is done, that is the yoke and the sleeve caps, you're ready to separate the sleeves, cast on the underarm stitches, and work the body. Your blue crown is still counting the rows between buttonholes, but you've got a yellow crown and a gray crown free to count things like the number of decreases to the waist and the rows between those decreases, for example. And that's how we use the Sirka counter to work a contiguous pattern. Of course, as always, you should use the system that works best for you. There's no one right way to use the Sirka counter. If you have any questions, please contact us on our website. I'm Gray, and on behalf of Grellow, thanks for watching.